This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you all to today's Planning Commission meeting. At this point, if we could have our opening comments, please.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and planning department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the commission and the board will be retained by the secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the planning department. The Planning Commission and the board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the district court.
Thank you for that. At this time, I'd like to throw the meeting over to Director Wadle for the first item on our agenda. Mike, you're muted. Perfect.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. As far as the announcements, this is just a quick note for those who are joining that there are a number of cases that were originally scheduled for this meeting. They have been deferred due to an error with publications. And I apologize for that. There was an error with the public notice that was published in the newspapers. So you will see at the end of this agenda, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cases that are listed, and those items have been deferred. And the date that those have been scheduled for is the September 9th MAPC meeting.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Hearing none. Thanks, Scott. I'd like to take up the approval of the minutes for our July 22nd meeting. I show.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Miles, second by Mr. Johnson. I show that Commissioners Florence and Gross.
Yeah, I'm present.
were not in attendance, and
Oh, okay.
we do have a valid motion, and it has been seconded. All those in
Hey, wait a
favor?
moment, please. Discussion?
So is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry.
I think there's a correction that needs to be made. It's on page 12 and page 14.
Okay,
The motion was to approve with removal of the word partial from the report. This was an accessory dwelling where the question was whether part of the building or all of the building. And that word partial actually should have been portion. But on page 12, the first sentence of background, it still says in a portion of the existing metal outbuilding. Can we move that phrase in a portion of be stricken and approve the minutes with that revision? Is that a revised motion, I guess?
oh, well,
I'm happy to revise my motion.
And the second agrees.
So under the background section, that's the staff report. And in the minutes, we don't actually remove it from the portion of the minutes. That's the staff report. The motion to, or the movement to reflect the removal of that word happens in the motion. So even though in the motion, it was cited that it would be removed, we don't take it out of the staff report because that's, then you wouldn't know what you're removing because the motion would say that we're going to be removing this from the item,
Okay.
but we don't actually go back and remove it from the staff report. It goes from here forward that was stricken from.
Okay, I did
From
not
the report.
understand that. Thank you.
that's clear.
I
Good.
resort to my original motion.
Thank you, Ms. Miles, and I'm sure Mr. Johnson is going to second that.
I agree.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. And those abstaining? I thought Mr. Florence was on. And Shane's on also? Okay,
Yes, I'm
Yes.
present.
I'm present.
okay, those two abstain. Okay, moving on to our agenda. We have subdivision committee recommendations. Item is subdivision 21-00024, which is a one-step final plat of Wynn Acres Addition. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? Wynn Acres Addition. Hearing none, we will take that on consent. Next, we have Wheat Flats Addition, the one-step final plat, be sub 21-00036. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers here that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we will take Wheat Flats Addition on consent.
And move for approval of 2.1, 2.2.
Second, Josh.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Joe Johnson, a second by Mr. Chuck Warren to approve these two plats. Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously, 11-0. Next, we have a vacation 21-00028. It's a city request to vacate a platted street right-of-way on Jabera Airport property. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Hearing none, is there anyone in the chambers that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anyone virtually that would like to hear this case?
Yes.
Vacate. Okay, we will hear this case.
Good afternoon, Philip Zevenbergen with planning staff. Vacation 2128 is the vacation of a portion of platted street rights of way located north and east of the Jabbar Airport property, which is east of Webb Road and south of East 45th Street. The purpose of the request is for the construction of a taxi lane extension, future development of the airport, and to come into compliance with FAA runway protection zone requirements. The applicant is the Wichita Airport Authority, which is a subset of the city of Wichita. The property that it abuts is zone limited industrial. Something unique about this case is it's pursuant of KSA 13443, as opposed to the more common one, which is KSA 12505. KSA 13443 allows a first-class city to do a number of things. One of them is vacate its own right-of-way without needing the consent of abutting property owners. If you were to pursue it from KSA 12505, if a abutting property owner were to stand in opposition to it, you would not be able to vacate it. But this Kansas statute allows cities of the first class to vacate their own rights of way without the requirement of consent of abutting property owners. If you want to move forward on the slide, Paul, I'll be fairly brief because go one more. Lee Carmichael with Traffic Engineering is here, and he's got a presentation which goes over a number of these things as well. You can see here that a portion of 43rd Street and Lindbergh Road are in a runway protection zone. The FAA describes that as an area at ground level prior to the threshold beyond the runway and established to enhance the safety and protection of the people and property on the ground. A number of circulars from the FAA list a number of uses that would be prohibited within runway protection zones, and they say that public street rights of way are incompatible land uses within runway protection zones. So this is one of the reasons why the city is pursuing this vacation, is to remove this public street right of way from that runway protection zone. If the vacation is approved, it would limit access to the Sedgwick County Maintenance Facility. I think you go to the next one, Paul. This is right at the corner of 37th, where 37th turns north into Lindbergh. This is the Sedgwick County Maintenance Facility. The city and the county have already worked together prior to the application to determine what the Sedgwick County Maintenance Facility would need in terms of access, and they would be creating a cul-de-sac at the end of 37th Street where it would end. That way, it would provide access to the maintenance facility and would provide an opportunity for vehicles to turn around if they mistakenly went down 37th Street after the road is closed. If you go to the next slide, I think I have it in here. Otherwise, Lee can talk about it as well. On the 43rd end of things, they're going to be putting a hammerhead on 43rd Street. So if people turn onto 43rd Street, they will have space to turn around and get back out to Webb Road. The city conducted a traffic count before they submitted the application. The initial count showed 2,900 vehicles a day. That seemed pretty high to them. They ended up deploying counters again and did 2 counters, and it showed only 400 vehicles a day. That was an update to the staff report from the subdivision committee per the presentation of city traffic engineering. Regardless of the counts, the city still wishes to pursue the vacation based on coming into compliance with the FAA regulations for not having a road in the runway protection zone. If these roads are closed and vacated, motorists can use Greenwich and 45th Street to go around, and it actually only adds about 0.6 miles to the travel versus using 43rd Street and Lindbergh. 43rd and Lindbergh really are an extension of 37th Street to get, since 37th Street dead ends into the airport. is an opportunity for people to get to Webb Road, but because it goes so far north, practically getting you to 45th Street, just completing the square using Greenwich and 45th only adds just over half a mile to the travel. If this is vacated, it will not deprive properties of access. We already talked about Sedgwick County. This property right here is the only private property that abuts the right-of-way, as it is one contiguous property under contiguous ownership, and you can see it has access to Greenwich as well as 37th Street. There is a public water line and gas line located in the vacation area, and the city is already working with the airport authority on a dedication of an easement. There are several stormwater culverts under the rights of way. The airport authority is accepting the responsibility to maintain those facilities in the future. Neither Cox nor Evergy have equipment in the right of way, and they do not object to the request. If this is vacated, there are several conditions of approval. The first one being number one, providing a restrictive covenant, which would bind and tie the vacated rights of way to the airport property. When right of way is vacated, it reverts back to the property from which it was dedicated. This entire property was dedicated from the Colonel James Jabbar Airport second edition. Therefore, it will all revert back to the airport. The abutting properties to the east and the north did not dedicate another right of way. So the restrictive covenant will bind it to the airport, so it's not a floating parcel. Obviously, the city will have to construct the cul-de-sac and the hammerhead on 43rd and Lindbergh for the turnarounds. As needed, providing utilities with easements, and which they've already are in the works of doing for the water and the gas line. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions for staff? At this point, I have not seen anybody that's indicated they have a question. You answered one of my questions initially, and that was there is one property owner that could possibly be affected by this. However, that property has access to both 37th Street and Greenwich. So
that is correct. That parcel is 140 acres and it is contiguous and under one ownership.
Okay. And then you mentioned something that I guess I didn't pick up the first time that we heard this, and that is the installation of a hammerhead at 43rd.
At the front of 43rd, they're not going to vacate the right of way all the way to Webb Road. There's going to be a little bit left over. And during the presentation by traffic engineering at the subdivision committee meeting, they indicated that they would be installing a hammerhead.
So that hammerhead is for westbound traffic.
Right. Should somebody going north on Webb Road or south on Webb Road turn on 43rd Street by accident or just turn into there, the hammerhead would give them the space to turn around versus keeping it a 2-lane road and them having to do like a 4-point turn to go around. So we can let Lee Carmichael, a traffic engineer, he's got a presentation of his own that he can talk about. The reasons they're looking to do that.
Okay, thanks. All right, any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we could have the agent or applicant come forward and state your name and address for the record, and you have 10 minutes.
Thanks, Planning Commission. Lee Carmichael, the City of Wichita, Assistant Traffic Engineer. For this vacation, 43rd and Lindbergh, some background, some history on the placement of the streets and such like that. 37th Street originally was straight through. Go to the next slide. Next one, sorry. That's a better view. 37th Street originally went straight through and on the north side of Jabbar Airport. And the next slide, please. And then 39th, and then when Jabbar had an expansion, they did a relocation, so then it came out on 39th Street. Just want to explain this photo for you. It's a 1997 aerial, so the street actually didn't go through the runway. So I just wanted to explain that. So if there's any questions about that, I could answer that. And next slide, please. And this is, oh, sorry, back up. 39th Street, that was done in the mid 80s, late 80s. And so that's some history on that. Okay, now next. Okay, 43rd Street was done. And like Philip said, it was dedicated with the plat of Colonel James DeBarro's second edition. And it was totally platted, set within that plat, and totally dedicated by Wichita Airport Authority in the mid 1990s. Next, please. And the reason for this vacation is the public street is going through the runway protection zone, and it's splitting up the development areas for the airport. You can see the future taxiway is in the red with the red line, and the runway protection zone, you can see that in the blue. The next slide, please. The yellow is the potential development, and this development is solely for aeronautical or aviation related development. So you can't put a Quick Trip or a Sonic or anything like that. It has to be airport related, so it'll be more self-sufficient. And again, 43rd bisects that area. Okay, next slide. And as Philip stated, we counted 400 vehicles per day. Just to give you a little perspective, if that day is 24 hours. So if he said 12 hours, there's 400 vehicles in 12 hours. That's 33 vehicles an hour, or 0.5 vehicles a minute. And I personally went out there and counted on a Wednesday afternoon from 5:30 to 6:30, and I've got 25 vehicles in an hour. So it's pretty close. And then again, that's for half a day. And there's no existing access along 43rd and Lindbergh for any of the adjacent property owners. So the existing traffic generation mainly is for, by the Sedgwick County yard here in the corner. And Sedgwick County is in support of this vacation. Properties fronting 37th, 45th, and Greenwich will retain their access to these roadways. Next slide, please. Now this slide is going to create some questions. This roundabout is just representative of what we want to do for the end treatment of the dead end street for 37th Street. In no way is this to scale, or has it's been designed yet. That's coming. And the location, with recent discussion, will not be in this location. It could move up Lindbergh into the curve area, but I wouldn't go any further north than the north property line of Sedgwick County Yard. If it goes beyond that, it gets into some future expansion of Jabara and the taxiways on the east side. So, but we would work with Wichita Airport Authority, Sedgwick County, Public Works, and other interested parties as well to get this design implemented. Next slide, please. And here's that hammerhead that you were talking about, Mr. Green. This hammerhead is for the indention into the right of way is for any, semi-truck traffic that may have deliveries within the airport that are authorized to do so. They can have a staging area while the gates open. And the reason for the hammerhead is for any errant vehicles that they have an opportunity to turn around and go on their way. The traffic will be detoured down Greenwich to 45th Street. 45th Street and Sedgwick County can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's been built within the last 6 years. So it's fairly new and it's got turn lanes on either end of that roadway. So, and it's, I would say it's a much safer roadway, especially got those curves in 37th and Lindbergh and 43rd. So it'll be safer. And then there is a potential that someday 45th and Webb will get a signal. Depends on the development in the area. So it'd be much safer for the traveling public. And that is all I have. I stand for any questions.
Go ahead.
So you want to build the hammerhead?
It's for airport security. So there would be a fence and a gate there and dead end. Drivers, they don't pay attention to the signs and a sign would not be sufficient. So construction of a hammerhead would be a little bit better for those drivers.
So I kind of had the same question. So evidently 43rd Street is not going away. It's just being vacated to
Correct.
Public use, but it's
Correct.
still going to be used for airport authority usage.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense than, because I would think you could just block the street off there and it never existed on the east side of Webb Road, but that's going to be for service vehicles. And
yes, for service vehicles used by the airport authority for their official entry into the grounds.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, we'll. Oh, okay. Yeah, Josh.
So would this also help for maybe future expansion in case another Boeing 747 Dreamlifter would happen to come by?
Yeah, sure. Now, hopefully that won't happen again.
That'll happen again. Thank you. That's all the question I had.
Okay. Thanks, Josh. Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, we'll open it up to public comments. Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to address this case? Seeing none. Is there anyone virtually that would like to provide testimony for this case?
Yes.
If you could state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Jeremy Hurt, 250 North Water, Suite 300, Wichita, Kansas, 67206. I'm just here to represent Dave Murphin, who has interest in both sides of 37th Street. And so he owns the property that's approximately 150 acres on the north side, and then some acreage on the south side of 37th Street. And we don't want to hold up any process here, and understand the need from the airports, their need there. So, but we do, I guess, just want to make a comment that we would have interest in participating in, potentially the design and functionality of the cul-de-sac as that gets closer to the county facility. We would prefer it be up north, and would even like to, I guess, explore, is there a way to have access from that cul-de-sac if it's up north, from the property there that we own around the county facility. And then, we would also, I guess, just like to know who would own and maintain that cul-de-sac or that extension. Is that the city, the county, the airport authority? That's just more of a question of who would be maintaining that.
Well, once that gets past a certain line and comes in city, county, or city limits, comes within the city limits, the city of Wichita will maintain. If it goes further north, we can work an agreement with Sedgwick County if they could do a maintenance agreement and just maintain. It's such a short piece that it wouldn't be advantageous for us to maintain, but maybe we can get an agreement with Sedgwick County for maintenance.
Okay, well, no, I appreciate the info, and we would just like to respectfully request that we could be included maybe in some communication on the design and functionality of that, and to see if there's any reason to work together on, what we could maybe develop there in the future that would, be in everybody's best interest. So that's all we're asking.
Okay, yeah, we can include you and Dave in there.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else virtually that would like to address the commission on this case? Hearing none, we'll bring it back to Mr. Carmichael. Yes, Mr. McKay.
I have a question, just as clarification. The gentleman asked a while ago, he referred to a cul-de-sac. Subdivision, they referred to a cul-de-sac. You said a roundabout.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant cul-de-sac, yes.
Cul-de-sac.
Yes, okay.
And if I recall, that cul-de-sac is being built to county standards, not city standards.
And that's going to be in discussion too. If we go up north more, that may be county. We'll have to discuss that and what standards that will have to be.
Okay.
I prefer county.
Yes, I do too. I do too. So, okay. Did you have any other final comments, Lee?
I have none.
For the benefit? Okay. Then we'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Move approved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. McKay, second by Ms. Foster to approve per staff comments. Is there any question on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. We have no BZA meeting today, so at this point, our meeting is adjourned.